Sometimes I wish this rogue nation wouldn't supply us with all this ammunition because, you see, I'd love to waste time writing about kittens and puppies and fluffy clouds, but it's easier to craft lyrics of disdain about the things that hate me, like America.
In about a minute over, so I'm going to go ahead and just bring her on right now. My sister in arms. I know it says Jennifer K. Yancey, but we also know her as the Poet Rosegold. Yes. How you doing, ma'am?
Rhonda. I'm great. I'm big time now. I'm on your show. I've arrived. I made it.
Come on. I hope all of our poet friends are going to be watching the show tonight because you're about to turn it out. I already know it. So you have been doing some wonderful things lately, and you have a new book now.
Yes, ma'am.
Nice.
Is she pretty?
It's very pretty. Now, who designed that cover?
Her name is Rebecca Dreskin Evans. Her website is literally it's called www.blameitonrebecca.com. So yeah, you literally can blame this on Rebecca. So that's her back there. So yeah, I needed, one of my challenges when I knew I was finally going to get a book published, I needed somebody to get into my head and get all my ideas and thoughts and personality out onto a cover, and she managed to succeed in doing that. So thank you, Rebecca.
So she's somebody you already knew?
No, we have not met yet. We'll actually be meeting next month in Albuquerque for the second annual New Mexico Poetry Summit, which is which was put together, was the brainchild of my publisher, Marissa Prada, who was also a native of Albuquerque. So I'll actually be meeting her for the first time next month.
Wow. I mean, social media has made the world so small, hasn't it?
Yes, it has.
What type of poetry can we find in this book?
So, and I love that question, since we as a collective are not a monolith. I don't just write about one single thing. Not that that's not a swipe against anyone who does, but for myself, I've been orbiting the sun for 52 years. I've gone through a bunch of different things. So I write about a bunch of different things. So in this book, you could find a lot of poetry about social justice or social injustice, however you look at it, mental health, time in the military, Black love, self-love, spirituality, things like that. So that's, you'll find a whole bunch of those things. Intimacy, I touch a little bit on intimacy, toxic relationships, things like that. But I've, to get that out of my spirit. So I put it down on paper and I left it there. That's not something I want to talk about too much, at least not on paper. But so that's pretty much what you will find in this book.
One thing is, I didn't know a lot about your poetry until much later. Were you doing poetry in the military as well?
Not that much. See, let me rewind to like my pre-military days. Like when I was around 19, 20, I knew I was going to write a book, but at the time my focus was on fiction because I just knew I was going to be the next Terry McMillan. So I was going to write a bestseller. They were going to turn it into a movie. Hello, Trust. They're going to turn it into a movie. And that was that. But, I tip my crown to y'all because I don't know how, writing fiction and things like that, I couldn't really wrap my head around it too much. I felt like I hadn't lived enough. But then I did write a little bit before I joined the military and then while I was in, but it wasn't until 2014, exactly a decade ago, where, the great I Am put it in my spirit. No, you're not going to write fiction. I need you to go back to your original love, which was poetry. And I'm like,
yes.
Okay, done. But I never hit my first book back until 2017.
Well, I'll tell you, because I have attended a few of your virtual open mics, and I'll tell you that poetry community in Colorado Springs is something serious. Yes. See, it's always good when our sisters in arms pop up on the show. That poetry scene in Colorado Springs is something serious. I mean, I
Yes.
really enjoy whenever I have the opportunity to sit and just listen to y'all. And you notice I don't even hang up. If after you've done your set, I'll sit and listen to the rest of them because y'all are killing it.
Yeah. People have stuff to say. People got something to say.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, now have you have some of your fellow poets in the community were they surprised that you actually put your work into a book? Because I remember a couple of poets telling me that they like to they don't want to put it in a book, they just like to spit it.
And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely
Mm-hmm.
nothing wrong with that. But I've always wanted to be published. I want, this book is going to be part of my legacy, you
Mm.
know. So, and I say this all the time. I've been saying this since last year's poetry summit. When people read this book 20, 30, 50 years from now, provided it hasn't been banned, that people will read it, they'll read certain poems and they will see, okay, that's what was happening in 2021. you know
Yes.
and the poems in the book are they're they're put in the book in chronological order. Like the first poem is dedicated to my dad that I wrote back in 2001, about a couple of weeks after he passed away. And then it goes all the way to the last poem was written in 2022. So it's all in chronological order. Maybe a couple of them that you do read, you can tell, okay, she wrote this in 2020, she wrote this in 2022, things like that.
Yes. I like the way that you're looking at it. And I already know you as a writer. So I
Hmm.
already know you put a lot of care into what you put between those pages. Or within those pages. So I'm not even worried about that. But I do love the fact that you are really concerned with the legacy that you'll leave. When people read that book long after you're gone, or if they read the book and they never have a chance to meet you, they're going to feel like they know a little bit about you. They know how you think. They know your perspective, so to speak. And I think that's how all authors and poets should look at their work.
Hmm. It's us speaking. You can't let anybody else tell your narrative. You can't
Yes.
let anybody. We can look at we can look at the same thing and see it in two different ways. So it's important that you get your voice out there and not rely on someone else to do the talking for you. Poets, we are griots. We're storytellers. We're truth tellers.
Yes.
A lot of people don't trust the news anymore, and that kind of I don't know about you, but it makes me feel some kind of way. Us having been public affairs in the Army, so they don't trust the media. They definitely don't trust the politicians. So where else are they going to get their news from the
Mm-hmm.
perspective of someone who's, I don't want to say on the sidelines, because someone asked me, actually my cousin, one of my older cousins asked me earlier, are you engaged in any form of activism? I said, I'm an activist with my pen.
There you go.
Hmm.
There you go. And sometimes because they're not going to know everybody who marched, but they're going to see your work. They're going to read your thoughts that way, and you might be able to move mountains with your pen.
Hmm. Hmm. And it is a form of activism. People think that activism is just, out in the streets, fists in the air, signs, bullhorns, and all that sort of thing, and blocking traffic and all that good stuff, all that crazy stuff. But there are so many facets to it. It's getting people to register to vote. It's getting them out to the polls. It's writing. It's speaking. It's running for office. A whole bunch of things. Just taking care of your community. So it shows up in many different ways, and this just happens to be mine. And what's crazy about it is, there are a couple of people who've told me when they met me for the first time, finally, after a couple of years of seeing me like this, seeing each
Mm.
other like this on a Zoom screen, they meet me in person and said, "I had it in my head that you were 6 feet tall." Because I'm quiet by nature. I always have been. I still am. But
Hmm.
when I'm standing in front of a microphone or if I have a pen in my hand, you're gonna hear me.
Well, he said that needs to be on a T-shirt. I'm an
Yeah.
activist with the pen.
Okay, let me talk to Rebecca. Oh, okay. In the immortal words of the GOAT, MC Light, hot damn ho, here we go again. Back to the lab with pad and pen, armed to the teeth with fodder from the very latest in American foibles. I have to admit, sometimes I wish this rogue nation wouldn't supply us with all this ammunition because, you see, I'd love to waste time writing about kittens and puppies and fluffy clouds, but it's easier to craft lyrics of disdain about the things that hate me, like America and her prodigal sons and daughters of the faux revolution, mercilessly lampooned on the lines of this page. But at the end of the day, will it truly bring change? I say again, will it really and truly? Mr. Cook, you told us a change was going to come. It's been 57 years since you've blessed us with those words, Mr. Cook. You promised us. See, change didn't arrive with Obama. It missed the connecting flight to hope. I can be quoted as saying the pen is a weapon. Perhaps if I were to jab it into my opponent's jugular or poison their drink with my ink. I'm not the 60s hippies planting carnations in the muzzles of military police rifles. Sorry, Father, but that's not how this flower wants to exercise her power. I don't want to continue being a part of this predictable plot twist where they shoot, we die, we rage, they lie, they no charge, we cry, we hashtag, we wave BLM flag, we get bitter, we black Twitter. Then they get to return to their regularly scheduled racism. Therefore, I assume my fighter stance and keep my ear to the streets in anticipation of the next failed insurrection. Forget prayer posture, there's nooses swinging in the breeze, and the Wu-Tang Clan told me to protect my neck. Cooter and them still mad that Reconstruction was not our destruction, but so not sorry, you cannot deconstruct melanin. How can they still find our radiance so abhorrent? Why, Roy Ayers said, everybody loves the sunshine. Yes, I do wish that one day they'll grow tired of being the foil for my art. But there they go again with that smack, that so much stank, that trash talk, that diarrhea of the mouth, that one has to wonder why they sit on their asses and not their faces. Wrathful because we aim to curb their blonde ambitions, intent on eclipsing our rays of light with their rancor. Fragile and atrophied because they never exercise that muscle called accountability. But spring is coming. So what you gonna do, you scribe, Pied Piper, griot, foghorn, poet? What color is your noise? It is separation season. Eventually you will have to vacate the safety and security of these Hollywood squares because the real challenge is not just out in them streets. They're in your schools, your jobs, your churches even. When the hour is upon you, will you unleash the beast or stay muzzled? A Rottweiler's jaws wield 328 pounds per square inch of pressure, so there's no question as to why it shows no fear. So likewise, there will have to come a time when your bite has to be worse than your bark, when your words will leap off the papyrus and form flesh around dry bones, joining together in battle, in living color, parting the seas of hate, and leading the true-hearted onward to the promised land. End poem.